Hello all, I am the Holland Phantom, and for today's video we've got a special one to celebrate the channel's 2-year anniversary, so a big thank you to everyone that has supported us along the way. Okay, so for today, we're going to be hosting a tournament featuring all the original theme decks in the game's history, so let's take a look at our competitors. First up is the Overgrowth deck, featuring Gyarados as its main Pokemon. This deck uses a combination of water and grass Pokemon to take down the opponent. Second is the Brushfire deck, featuring NineTails as its main Pokemon. This deck uses fire and grass Pokemon to hit for high damage and to take quick KOs. Next is the Zap deck, featuring Mewtwo as its main Pokemon. This deck uses Psychic and Lightning Pokemon to inflict status conditions on the opponent to lock them down. And finally we have the Blackout deck, featuring Hitmonchan as its main Pokemon. This deck uses Fighting and Water Pokemon to hit hard and fast to overpower the opponent. These decks will go up against each other in the first round, and the two losers will be facing off to compete for third place, while the two winners of the first round will go head-to-head in the finals to compete for the gold. So let's see which of these 4 decks will take the victory today. But before we begin, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel and to my Twitter account at Holland_Phantom so you don't miss out on any new Pokemon TCG content. And now with that out of the way, let's get into the tournament. Alright, here we go. It's going to be the first match of the tournament, NineTails versus Hitmonchan. Let's get into it. On the NineTails side, we've got Weedle as the active Pokemon with the Charmander on the bench, and on the Hitmonchan side, we've got Machop as the active Pokemon with the Squirtle on the bench. The NineTails side went first, attaching a Grass Energy to the active Weedle, and then attacking with Poison Sting, hitting Machop for 10 damage, and the coin flip was Tails, so Machop is not poisoned. And now for the Hitmonchan side, the player attaches the Fighting Energy to Machop, and then activates the Trainer Energy Removal to get rid of the Grass Energy off of the opponent's Weedle. There's the attack. It's going to be Low Kick, hitting Weedle for 20 damage, and that's going to be the turn. Back over to the NineTails side now. This time it's going to be a Fire Energy coming down to the bench Charmander, and that's going to be it. No other cards are played. That means his Weedle is going to be getting KO'd this turn. A Water Energy comes down to the bench Squirtle, and there's the attack Low Kick to take the first KO against Weedle, and now Charmander comes up as a new active Pokemon for the NineTails side. Charmander gets a second Fire Energy to be fully powered up, and there's the attack. And it looks like that was just Scratch that time, hitting for 10 damage. The Hitmonchan side played no cards, going straight for the attack Low Kick, hitting Charmander for 20 damage. On the NineTails side, a second Charmander comes down to the bench, which gets its own Fire Energy. And there's the attack. This time it's going to be Ember, discarding a Fire Energy from Charmander to take the KO against Machop. Okay, now Squirtle comes up as a new active Pokemon for the Hitmonchan side. A second Squirtle comes down onto the bench, and the active one gets a second Water Energy. The player then activates Professor Oak to discard the rest of their hand to draw 7 brand new cards. Let's see if they get any more Pokemon. Yes, there's Hitmonchan and a Staryu coming down to the bench. There's the attack. It's going to be Bubble. There's a coin flip, and it is Tails. Charmander is not paralyzed, but it does take 20 damage, as it is weak to water Pokemon. On the NineTails side, another Weedle comes down onto the bench, and the active Charmander gets a second Fire Energy. There's the attack. It's going to be Ember, discarding the Fire Energy to hit Squirtle for 30 damage. Now over to the Hitmonchan side. Another Energy Removal comes down, taking the Fire Energy off of the bench Charmander now. And a Fighting Energy comes down onto the benched Hitmonchan. There's the attack, another Bubble to take the KO against Charmander. Let's see which Pokemon comes into the active spot next. It's going to be Charmander. The second Charmander is going to be taking down this Squirtle if it gets an energy attachment. A Tangela comes down to the bench for the NineTails side. And the player's going to be activating Energy Retrieval, discarding a card from their hand to get back a Grass Energy and a Fighting Energy. Followed by the Trainer last. Both players reveal their hands to each other and shuffle away their Trainer cards. The Hitmonchan side did have 2 Trainer cards that they are now shuffling away. So really good for disrupting the opponent there. Charmander gets a Fire Energy to use its Scratch attack, and there it is, taking the KO against Squirtle. And both sides have taken 2 prizes so far. Hitmonchan comes up as a new active Pokemon now, and it's going to be the main attacker of this deck. It gets a second Fighting Energy. And there's the attack, Jab, hitting Charmander for 20 damage. Let's see what the NineTails side can do. Growlithe comes down onto the bench. And Tangela gets a Grass Energy now. Charmander hits Hitmonchan with a Scratch attack for 10 damage, and turn passes. Hitmonchan gets a third Fighting Energy, and now it can use its second attack, Special Punch, to take the KO against Charmander. There we go, it's going to be 3 prizes taken by the Hitmonchan side. Tangela comes up as a new active Pokemon for the Ninetales side. And it gets a second Grass Energy to use its Bind attack. There it is, hitting for 20 damage, and there's going to be the coin flip now. And it comes up, Tails! So Bind does not paralyze Hitmonchan. A Water Energy comes down to the bench Staryu on the Hitmonchan side, and a second Staryu comes down onto the bench. There's the attack Special Punch, hitting Tangela for 40 damage. It's got 10 HP left. Okay, on the Ninetales side, Tangela gets a third Grass Energy to use its second attack now. There it is, going to be Poison Powder, hitting for 20 damage. And Hitmonchan is also poisoned. It takes 10 damage between turns. Water Energy comes down to the second bench Staryu, and there's the attack. It's going to be a Jab attack, taking the KO against Tangela. But the poison also takes a KO against Hitmonchan between turns, so both players take a prize. Hitmonchan is down to 2 prizes, and Ninetales is down to 3 prizes. Okay, turn is over on the Ninetales side now. Weedle is the new active Pokemon. It gets a Grass Energy, and it goes up against this Staryu. There's the attack Poison Sting, hitting for 10 damage. There's a coin flip, and it is Tails. Staryu is not poisoned. No cards are played for the Hitmonchan side. Staryu hits with Slap Attack for 20 damage. And over on the Ninetales side, Growlithe gets a Fire Energy, followed by a Potion to fully heal the active Weedle. There's the attack. It's going to be a Poison Sting, once again hitting for 10 damage, and there's another coin flip. Another Tails! A lot of Tails from these coin flips. A Machop comes down to the bench on the Hitmonchan side, gets its own Fighting Energy. There's the attack Slap, hitting Weedle for 20 damage. It would have been KO'd if it wasn't for that potion that was used in the previous turn. Okay, the bench Growlithe gets its second Fire Energy now to use its Flare attack, and a Vulpix comes down onto the bench. There's the attack. Poison Sting. Another 10 damage, and another Tails on the coin flip. This player's having really bad luck. Okay, no cards are played for the Hitmonchan side, going straight for the attack. Slap. Taking the KO against Weedle, and now they're down to 1 more prize. Growlithe comes up as a new active Pokemon for the Ninetales side. There's the attack, Flare. Taking the KO against Staryu, and taking another prize. 2 prizes to 1. But Hitmonchan does have the advantage, as Staryu can hit Growlithe for weakness. There it is, hitting for 40 damage. And things are not looking good for the Ninetales side. Okay, let's see what they can do. A second Growlithe comes down onto the bench. Oh, but no other cards are played. There's the attack Flare, hitting for 20 damage, but that's going to be the game. Slap takes the final KO to take the final prize. And there's a handshake. Hitmonchan is your winner. Okay, so Hitmonchan has advanced to the finals, while Ninetales has dropped to the losers bracket. Let's see how things go in the next battle. Okay, now let's get into the second game of the first round. It's going to be Gyarados versus Mewtwo. On the Gyarados side, we've got Weedle as the active Pokemon with the Staryu on the bench. And on the Mewtwo side, we've got Ghastly as the active Pokemon with the Pikachu and a Mewtwo on the bench. The Gyarados side is going first, attaching a Grass Energy to Weedle and attacking with Poison Sting, hitting Ghastly for 10 damage, and there's a coin flip. It's going to be Tails, so Ghastly is not poisoned. Now turn passes over to the Mewtwo side. Let's see what they can do. Lightning Energy comes down onto the bench Pikachu, and now Ghastly retreats to promote Pikachu. There's the attack, Gnaw, hitting Weedle for 10 damage. Back over to the Gyarados side. Water Energy comes down to the bench Staryu. And now Weedle attacks with Poison Sting once again, hitting Pikachu for 10 damage. There's a coin flip. And another Tails. No poison coming through. On the Mewtwo side, an Abra comes down onto the bench. And Pikachu gets a Psychic Energy. There's the attack, Thunder Jolt, hitting Weedle for 30 damage to take the KO, but Pikachu also hits itself for 10 damage. Okay, Mewtwo takes our first prize, and now Staryu comes up as a new active Pokemon for the Gyarados side. A Magikarp is put on the bench. And Staryu gets a second Water Energy. There's the attack, Slap, taking the KO against Pikachu. And now Gyarados is taking their first prize. Okay, Abra comes up as a new active Pokemon. Let's see what the Mewtwo side can do. A Psychic Energy comes down to the bench Mewtwo, and that's going to be a turn passes. Okay, back over to the Gyarados side. Staryu gets a Grass Energy now. And it's going to be evolving into Starmie. Okay, the player then activates Gust of Wind as her trainer to bring up the damage. Ghastly is going to be getting KO'd by Starmie's attack. A second Staryu comes down to the bench first, and there's the attack Starfreeze taking the KO against Ghastly, and Gyarados takes her second prize now. Mewtwo comes into the active spot now. Do they have the second energy for it? Yes, they do. There's another Psychic Energy. There's the attack Psychic, hitting for 40 damage. 10 damage plus 10 more for every energy attached to the opposing Pokemon. That's a lot of damage onto this Starmie. Yeah, Water Energy comes down to the benched Magikarp now. And Starmie attacks with Starfreeze, hitting for 20 damage, and the player gets to flip a coin. Let's see if Mewtwo is going to be paralyzed. And yes, it is. Coin flip is heads. Mewtwo is paralyzed. It cannot attack during this turn. A Psychic Energy comes down to the benched Abra, and that's going to be a turn passes, and Mewtwo recovers from its paralysis. Magikarp gets a second Water Energy. And there's Gyarados! Okay, Magikarp does evolve, it just needs one more energy to attack. There's another Starfreeze and another head, so Mewtwo is paralyzed once again. It is one attack away from being KO'd. The player gives it a Defender to protect it from another Starfreeze attack. And the player then activates Computer Search, discarding 2 cards from their hand to search their deck for any 1 card to add to their hand. Okay, there it is. Let's see what they're going to be using this turn. The player does need to find some way to heal this Mewtwo, because it has taken a lot of damage. Alright, there we see a Lightning Energy coming down onto the benched Abra. And the player then activates Professor Oak. That must have been their chosen card off the Computer Search. They can dump their entire hand to draw 7 brand new cards. Let's see what they got. Yeah, Pikachu comes down onto the bench, followed by a Magnemite. And another Pikachu. They've nearly got a full bench now. It's going to be a turn passes. Mewtwo is healed of its paralysis, but it does keep the Defender. Okay, Gyarados gets its third Water Energy. It can use its first attack. And it looks like Starmie is going to be retreating. It discards the Grass Energy to pay the retreat cost to promote Gyarados, and Gyarados will be able to take the KO, hitting through the Defender. There's the attack Dragon Rage, taking the KO against Mewtwo, and that's 3 prizes taken by the Gyarados side. And this Gyarados is really strong. It's got 100 HP and it can hit for 50 damage, taking an easy one-hit KO pretty much against anything on the Mewtwo side right now. Okay, Abra comes up as a new active Pokemon. And the Lightning Energy comes down to the benched Magnemite. Abra retreats to promote the Magnemite. There's the attack Thunder Wave, hitting for 10 damage, and there's a coin flip, and it is head, so Gyarados is going to be paralyzed. Looks like the Mewtwo side is trying to stall out a couple of turns by paralyzing this Gyarados to hopefully build up a stronger attacker on their side of the field. Yeah, Grass Energy comes down onto the benched Starmie. It is once again fully powered up. And that's going to be it. Turn passes and Gyarados is fully healed. Okay, let's see what the Mewtwo side can do. Lightning Energy comes down onto one of the benched Pikachu, and there's another Thunder Wave attack hitting it for another 10 damage. And once again, Gyarados is paralyzed. 2 turns in a row, it cannot attack. Okay, let's see what the Gyarados side can do. Actually, nothing. Turn passes without playing any cards. On the Mewtwo side, Jinx comes down onto the bench, and it gets a Psychic Energy. Magnemite attacks with another Thunder Wave. Oh, but they get Tails that time on the coin flip, so Gyarados is not paralyzed, and it will be able to take the KO against his Magnemite. There's a Dragon Rage taking the KO. That's 4 prizes taken by Gyarados. And Abra comes up as a new active Pokemon. Another Psychic Energy comes down onto the Jinx. So the player's trying to power it up as quickly as possible. Abra retreats to promote Pikachu. There's the attack, Nah, hitting Gyarados for 10 damage. It's got 40 damage on it so far. Okay, turn passes over to the Gyarados side. Bulbasaur comes down onto the bench. Are we going to see any energy cards? Not yet, but first we have a Super Potion healing all the damage off of Gyarados. It's also going to be discarding one of the water energies though, so hopefully the player does have another one. And yes, they do. Gyarados gets a third energy once again. There's the attack Dragon Rage. That's another prize taken. Gyarados just has to take one more prize to win this game. The Mewtwo side is in a really bad spot. Okay, Jinx comes up as a new active Pokemon, gets a third Psychic Energy. There's the attack Meditate, hitting for 20 damage. Not very good right now. So Gyarados will be able to hit it for a massive 50 damage. But first, Bulbasaur gets a Grass Energy, and it evolves into Ivysaur. There's the attack. Dragon Rage. Jinx does take 50 damage, it's down to 20 more HP. Let's see what the Mewtwo side can do. They're in a really bad spot. Okay, Abra finally evolves into Kadabra, gets a second Psychic Energy so it can now use its Super Psy attack. A switch is activated to get Jinx out of the active spot to promote Kadabra. There's the attack Super Psy, hitting for 50 damage. Now Gyarados is finally within KO range. Okay, let's see what the Gyarados side can do. A Grass Energy comes down onto the benched Ivysaur. There's the attack. Dragon Rage hits for 50 damage. Kadabra, it's got 10 HP left, but it will be able to take this KO against Gyarados, though it will not be enough to win this game. Yeah, there's the Super Psy. Gyarados is knocked out, so the Mewtwo side gets to take another prize, but it is going to be the last one they take this game, as Kadabra is about to get KO'd. Okay, Ivysaur comes up as a new active Pokemon, just needs one more energy to attack. And yes, there it is, a third Grass Energy comes down. There's the attack Vine Whip to take the KO against Kadabra to take the final prize. And there's a handshake. Gyarados is your winner. Gyarados has advanced to the finals to face off against Hitmonchan, while Mewtwo will be going up against NineTails for third place. Alright, now let's get into the losers final. This is going to determine who takes home third place. It's going to be NineTails versus Mewtwo. On the NineTails side, we've got Nidoran as the active Pokemon with a Tangela and a Growlithe on the bench. And on the Mewtwo side, we've got Pikachu as the active Pokemon with an Abra on the bench. The Mewtwo side is going first, attaching a Lightning Energy to Pikachu, and then using Build to draw 2 cards out of the deck. Ghastly is put onto the bench, and there's the attack, Gnaw, hitting for 10 damage. And now over to the NineTails side. The player attaches a Grass Energy onto the active Nidoran and goes straight for the attack, Horn Hazard. It does require a coin flip to hit, and it got Tails, so no damage was done to Pikachu. And on the Mewtwo side, Pikachu gets a second Lightning Energy and goes straight for the attack. This time it's going to be Thunder Jolt, hitting for 30 damage to take the KO against Nidoran, and the coin flip was heads, so Pikachu does not take any recoil damage. And on the second turn of the game, Pikachu has taken the first prize. Tangela comes up as a new active Pokemon, and Fire Energy comes down to the bench Growlithe. That's going to be it for the NineTails side. On the Mewtwo side, a Psychic Energy comes down to the bench Abra, and there's the attack. Another Thunder Jolt, hitting Tangela for 30 damage. The coin flip was heads once again, so Pikachu once again does not take any recoil. Okay, a second Fire Energy comes down onto the bench Growlithe, and no other cards are played. This Tangela is going to be getting KO'd this turn. On the Mewtwo side, a Psychic Energy comes down to the bench Ghastly, and there's the coin flip. Sorry, there's the attack, Thunder Jolt. The coin flip did go off screen, but it looks like it was a heads. So once again, Pikachu takes no damage and takes a second prize. So things are not looking good for the NineTails side. Growlithe comes up as a new active Pokemon. No cards are played, and there's the attack Flare to hit Pikachu for 20 damage. And on the Mewtwo side, a second Pikachu comes down to the bench, which also gets his Lightning Energy, and there's the attack. Thunder Jolt, hitting Growlithe for 30 damage, but this time finally, Pikachu takes 10 damage recoil. Okay, on the NineTails side, a potion is played to heal 20 damage off Growlithe, and a Charmander came down to the bench. There's the attack Flare to take the first KO for the NineTails side. 5 prizes to 4. Okay, the second Pikachu comes up as a new active Pokemon, and another Pikachu comes onto the bench. The active Pikachu gets a Psychic Energy to fully power it up, and it also has a Defender. There's the attack. Thunder Jolt hitting for 30 damage. The coin flip was Tails, but the Defender does protect Pikachu even from recoil damage. Turn passes back over to the Ninetales side. Nidoran comes down to the bench, and it gets a Grass Energy. There's a potion. Actually, there's 2 potions to fully heal the active Growlithe. It's got no damage on it now. And the player passes their turn, as Flare will not do any damage to Pikachu because of the Defender. On the Mewtwo side of the bench, Pikachu gets a Psychic Energy, and there's the attack. Thunder Jolt hitting for 30 damage, and the coin flip was heads. No damage comes down to the Pikachu. Okay, over to the Ninetales side. Charmander gets a Grass Energy. There's the attack. Flare. Pikachu is hit for 20 damage. On the Mewtwo side, Magnemite comes down as a new bench Pokemon. Thunder Jolt takes the KO against Growlithe. And the coin flip was Tails. Pikachu takes 10 damage. So 3 prizes taken by the Mewtwo side. Charmander comes up as a new active Pokemon. The player activates Energy Retrieval to get back 2 discarded energies, which are going to be the 2 fire energies that were on the previous Growlithe. The fire energy comes down into the Charmander. There's the attack. Scratch. Taking the KO against Pikachu, and the second prize taken by the Ninetales side. Okay, Ghastly comes up as a new active Pokemon. Lightning Energy comes down to the bench Pikachu, and Ghastly retreats to promote Pikachu. It's going to be the 3rd one of this game. There's the attack. Thunder Jolt hitting for 30 damage. There's the coin flip, and it is heads! Pikachu's getting really lucky on these coin flips. Okay, Charmander gets another Fire Energy. And a plus power! There's the attack. It's going to be Ember, taking the 1-hit KO against Pikachu. And also discards the Fire Energy, and now both sides are tied, 3 prizes remaining apiece. Ghastly comes back into the active spot for the Mewtwo side. And a second Ghastly comes down to the bench. Abra gets a second Psychic Energy, and it evolves into Kadabra. There's Ghastly's attack. Sleeping Gas. The coin flip is Tails though, so nothing happens to Charmander. Okay, Charmander evolves into Charmeleon now. It's a lot stronger. And he gets the second Fire Energy. There's the attack. It's going to be Slash Attack, hitting for 1-hit KO against Ghastly. And now Ninetales is in the lead. Okay, the next Ghastly comes into the active spot. And Mewtwo comes down to the bench. The player's trying to decide what to do now. And they do nothing. They leave Ghastly in the active spot to get KO'd. A Vulpix comes down to the bench, followed by another Charmander. There's the attack. Slash. Taking another KO against Ghastly. And Ninetales just has to take 1 more KO to win this game. Kadabra comes into the active spot for the Mewtwo side. And it gets a 3rd Psychic Energy. There's the attack. Super Psy, hitting for 50 damage. Taking the KO against Charmeleon now. And now Mewtwo is down to 2 prizes. Okay, Nidoran comes up as a new active Pokemon, and a second Nidoran comes down to the bench. Charmander gets a Fire Energy. There's the attack. Horn Hazard. The player has to get a heads to guarantee a KO on the following turn. Oh, but they got Tails, though! Oh, they might not be able to recover from this one now. Mewtwo gets a Psychic Energy, and there's the attack. Super Psy to take the KO against Nidoran, and now both sides are tied, 1 prize remaining, but the advantage is definitely on the Mewtwo side. As this Kadabra can take a 1-hit KO against pretty much anything. Charmander gets a second Fire Energy and attacks with Ember to hit Kadabra for 30 damage, but that's going to be the game. Super Psy hits Charmander for 50 damage to take the final KO and the final prize, and there's a handshake. Mewtwo is your winner. Mewtwo has taken the bronze in this tournament, while Ninetales has come in dead last. Sorry, Ninetales, maybe next time. But for now, let's get to the battle that you've all been waiting for. And there we go, the long-awaited final match, Gyarados versus Hitmonchan. Let's see who's going to take home the gold. On the Gyarados side, we've got Weedle as the active Pokemon with 2 Bulbasaur on the bench. And on the Hitmonchan side, we've got Machop as the active Pokemon. The Gyarados side is going first, attaching a Grass Energy to Weedle and attacking with Poison Sting. There's a coin flip, and it is finally heads. Weedle finally gets some good luck. So Machop is now poisoned. It's going to be taking 10 damage in between turns. Okay, another Machop comes down onto the bench, and the active one gets a Fighting Energy. There's the attack. Low kick, hitting Weedle for 20 damage. Okay, there's the damage coming down between turns because of the poison. And on the Gyarados side, Potion is used to fully heal the Weedle. A second Weedle comes down onto the bench now. And a Grass Energy is attached to one of the benched Bulbasaur. There's the attack. Another Poison Sting. And with a poison, Machop is going to be getting KO'd between turns. So Gyarados takes the first prize. Okay, the next Machop comes into the active spot now. Gets a fighting energy. There's the attack, low kick, hitting Weedle for another 20 damage. Let's see if the player has another potion to use. Okay, a second grass energy comes down to the Bulbasaur. And now it evolves into Ivysaur. There's the attack, poison, sting. And let's see what the coin flip is going to be. Another heads! So this Machop is also paralyzed. Sorry, poisoned, not paralyzed. Okay, fighting energy comes down to the Machop. And the player activates super energy removal, getting rid of the second fighting energy to get rid of both of Ivysaur's grass energies. There's the attack, low kick, to take the KO against Weedle. And now both sides have taken one prize apiece. Though things are not looking good for the Hitmonchan side, as his Machop is slowly getting worn down by the poison. Bulbasaur comes up as a new active Pokemon for the Gyarados side. And the player puts down a Magikarp onto their bench. Magikarp gets water energy. And that's going to be it. Turn passes. So now Machop is down to just 10 more HP. But, oh, it's going to be evolving. Alright, here we go. Machop evolves into Machoke, which also heals its poison. It gets a second energy, but it cannot attack. It needs at least 3 energies to use its attacks. On the Gyarados side, a Staryu comes down onto the bench. Okay, the player's just making some space on their bench with all their Pokemon so far. A water energy comes down onto the bench Staryu. And that's going to be it. Turn passes. Okay, Machoke. It's going to be getting a third energy. It can use its Karate Chop attack. But it's only going to be hitting for 10 damage. It normally does 50, but it does 10 less for every damage counter on Machoke. So a very weak attack for 3 energy. Okay, nothing is done on the Gyarados side. Turn passes over to the Hitmonchan side. The player equips a plus power onto Machoke, and then uses Professor Oak to dump their entire hand to draw 7 brand new cards. Okay, there we see a Sandshrew coming down to the bench, and Sandshrew gets the fighting energy. There's the attack, Karate Chop, hitting for 20 damage this time. Okay, turn passes back over to the Gyarados side. Still no cards are played. Turn passes back over to the Hitmonchan side. Okay, a water energy comes down to the newly benched Staryu. There's the attack, Karate Chop to take the KO against Bulbasaur. 2 prizes taken. Okay, Staryu comes up as a new active Pokemon now. And now Staryu attempts its slap, hitting Machoke for 20 damage. And now Karate Chop will be hitting for nothing. Okay, a Machop comes down to the bench, get the fighting energy. And Machoke is going to be retreating, discarding all 3 energy to go back to the bench. And the player's going to be promoting Machop now. There's the attack, low kick to hit for 20 damage. Okay, the player activates Bill to draw 2 cards. Let's see what they get. Another Staryu comes down onto the bench. And the active one attacks with Slap, hitting Machop for 20 damage. Turn passes back over to the Hitmonchan side. The player benches Farfetch'd, and Farfetch'd gets a fighting energy. There's the attack, low kick to take the KO against Staryu now. So Hitmonchan has taken 3 prizes so far. Okay, Magikarp comes up as a new active Pokemon. And no cards are played. Still, Magikarp attacks with Tackle, hitting Machop for 10 damage. On the Hitmonchan side, a water energy was attached to Farfetch'd. Machop attacks with low kick, hitting Magikarp for 20. A water energy was attached to the bench Staryu, and now Magikarp can take the KO with its flail attack. And now Gyarados has taken their second prize. On the Hitmonchan side, Farfetch'd comes up as a new active Pokemon, and it gets a second fighting energy. It's fully powered up, and there's the attack, Pot Smash, to take the KO against Magikarp. That's another prize taken, so 2 prizes left. On the Hitmonchan side, Staryu comes up as a new active Pokemon for the Gyarados side. A grass energy comes down to the bench Ivysaur. There's the attack, Slap, hitting Farfetch'd for 20 damage. The Hitmonchan side benches an Onix, which then gets fighting energy, and there's the attack, Pot Smash, hitting for 30 damage on Staryu. Okay, Ivysaur gets a second grass energy, slowly getting built up again, and Staryu attacks the Slap, hitting Farfetch'd for 20 more damage. No cards are played on the Hitmonchan side, and Farfetch'd takes the KO against Staryu with his Pot Smash attack. They're down to their final prize. While the Gyarados side still has to take 4 more. Things are not looking good for the Gyarados side. Ivysaur comes up, it gets its third Grass Energy to be fully powered up, and another Magikarp comes down to the bench. There's the attack Vine Whip to take the KO against Farfetch'd, and Gyarados takes their third prize so far. Okay, Staryu comes up as a new active Pokemon for the Hitmonchan side. And speaking of Hitmonchan, there it is. Staryu hits Ivysaur with its slap attack, hitting for 20 damage, and turn passes back over to the Gyarados side. Magikarp gets a Water Energy now. There's the attack. It's going to be Poison Powder now, hitting for 20 damage. Staryu is now poisoned, down to just 10 more HP. Squirtle comes down to the bench for the Hitmonchan side. And if this Staryu decides to attack, it will be getting KO'd by the poison between turns. Okay, Water Energy is attached to the bench Squirtle now. And the player's trying to decide what to do. Okay, they decide to go straight for the attack, Slap. Hitting Ivysaur for 20 more damage, but between turns it is KO'd with poison, and now Gyarados takes another prize. Okay, Ivysaur gets a 4th Grass Energy now. Oh, okay, here we go. The player activates Super Potion, fully healing the Ivysaur, but it does have to discard one of these energies. Okay, there's the attack. Ivysaur attacks Squirtle with Poison Powder. There we go. Now Squirtle is down to just 10 more HP. Another Staryu comes down to the bench. Staryu gets a Water Energy. Squirtle's going to be retreating to avoid being KO'd by the poison. And now Staryu comes up as a new active Pokemon. And there's the attack, Slap, hitting Ivysaur for 20 damage. So that Super Potion really helped out a lot, otherwise this Ivysaur would have been KO'd. Okay, the Magikarp gets the second Water Energy, and there's the attack, another Poison Powder. Inflicting poison on Staryu, it's down to just 10 more HP. Let's see what the Hitmonchan side can do. The player activates Energy Removal to get rid of one of Ivysaur's Grass Energies. And a Water Energy comes down to the bench Squirtle. Looks like the player does not have any fighting energies to power up this Hitmonchan. Squirtle does evolve into Wartortle now. There's the attack, Slap, hitting Ivysaur for 20 damage. And Staryu is now KO'd with poison, and now both sides are tie. At 1 prize remaining apiece, Hitmonchan comes into the active spot now. Ivysaur gets a 3rd energy once again. And the benched Weedle evolves into Kakuna. There's the attack, Poison Powder. Hitmonchan is poisoned. The player just needs 1 fighting energy to take the KO against against Ivysaur. Did they get it? No, they did not. All they did was bench a Machop and pass their turn. And now over the Gyarados side, the player attacks his Vine Whip to take the KO against Hitmonchan and take the final prize. And there's a handshake. Gyarados is your winner. And Gyarados has taken the gold with the victory over Hitmonchan. Congratulations to all our competitors today. And thanks to everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought about the tournament down in the comments below, and be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and share this video to help this channel grow and reach new viewers. Thanks a lot for watching, and until next time, this is the Holland Phantom logging out.